Sure. Waters. Okay.
Hello folks, thanks for joining us so late in the evening. It's 10 to 10 at night time. I've got some questions about the Brisbane flight paths, and first of all I've been told by some Brisbane community members that the Queensland Police have recently checked in on them after they submitted complaints to Airservices about flight noise. Now, I understand there's been over 14,000 complaints to Airservices since July of 2020. So my question is, what's elevated some of those complaints to complaints that Airservices have referred to the police? Anything you can tell me about that, please?
Senator Jason Harford, Chief Executive Officer, that is news to me. So I'll take that on. It is news to me, so I'll take that on notice.
Okay, yes, thank you. Appreciate any advice you can provide. Do you know how many of those 14,000 complaints were referred to the police?
No, I have no idea. I'll take that on notice.
Okay. And does any, just on a related topic, does any particular volume or nature of complaint trigger any sort of review of flight paths or noise attenuation measures? Is there any sort of volume at which you do a thing?
Not to volume, Senator. All complaints are looked at and reviewed, and where there is the potential of doing noise improvements, then they will be taken and assessed appropriately. Where we've had, in regards to the Brisbane flight paths, we've just recently conducted the post-implementation review, and that has taken on both community engagement, community input, as well as the complaints that have been made over the time, and has formulated the plan going forward.
Okay, can you provide me on notice with as much detail about that as possible? I know the community members probably already know all of that, but it will help me with context. But nonetheless, I've got some specific questions about the sod props, and in particular the increase in overwater flights. I'm interested, on a Quan response, you told me that the number of flights that have flown over the water, over Moreton Bay, has increased when you compare March 2022 to July 2022 with July to November of that same year. But I'm interested in whether it's a proportionate increase or just a sheer number of increase as air flight have picked up after COVID.
I'll ask Mr Curran to answer that.
Thank you, Senator. Pete Curran, Airservices Chief Customer Experience and Strategy Officer. The increase that you referred to in simultaneous opposite direction parallel runway operations sod props in the time frame from, I think it was August 24 of 2022 to November 23 was the information that we provided on our website. I believe that's the information you're referring to. There was approximately a 30% increase on the previous period. During the same time frame, as in from August last year to November last year, there was an increase of around just under 3% of traffic. So there's not a direct correlation in terms of traffic increasing by the same magnitude that we increased the amount of sod props. However, I think we should also understand that that's just at a total level of traffic for the airport, and that you need to go a little deeper into the data to understand actually what happened there. Primarily what we believe happened was that we extended the number of hours that we were making sod props available for, and consequently more aircraft were able to operate over the bay. So it was a good outcome in terms of noise outcomes for the community. It'd be difficult to correlate it to anything other than the extension of hours.
Okay, thank you. And just for clarity's sake, was that an increase in the proportion of flights going over the bay, or just an increase in the sheer numbers of flights?
It is an increase in the proportion of flights going over the bay. Traffic increased only a small amount during that same period.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that clarification. Can I ask, when flights are redirected over water under sod props, whether that's for policy reasons to reduce noise, or whether that's when weather conditions make the overwater flight paths a safer option?
So we can only operate sod props when weather conditions permit us to do so safely. So that is the opening condition for us to use it. Whenever that's the case, and we can do so, we do so at certain times of the day, and that is namely, I think between it's night time. I think I'm correct to say 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. on a nighttime basis, and we've extended that trial on weekends to go from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and more recently from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We also have extended it in the weekends from 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. So
Okay.
whenever weather conditions permit for us to operate safely in those timeframes, we use sod props.
Okay, and so that's the policy reason, is that the weather makes it safe to go over the bay, or are you doing it for noise reduction reasons?
Perhaps I'm not fully understanding the question. The environment must be that we can safely operate over the bay. When those conditions
Yes.
exist in those hours, our preferred mode is to operate over the bay, is the policy to operate over the bay in those hours.
Okay, all right, thank you. Can I ask now about income from levies? I understand that you levy charges to aircrafts operating in our airspace. How much income do you generate from aircraft operating in and out of Brisbane Airport?
Senator Paul Logan, Chief Financial Officer. I don't have the specific numbers for Brisbane. In total, Airservices collects about $1 billion a year across 29 locations. But certainly we can get that information for you.
Okay, yeah, if you could take that on notice for me. Sorry, can you tell me again? $1 billion a year across 19 sites, did you say?
29.
29, okay. And has the introduction of the trial extension of sod props hours, which you've just taken me through, thank you, since Feb, resulted in any reduced levy income to Airservices?
Not that I'm aware of that's related to that, Senator.
Okay, is that something that you might expect, or you wouldn't expect that?
No, we wouldn't expect that to impact, Senator.
Okay. And if you can either provide me right now or perhaps on notice the monthly income generated from aircraft operations at Brisbane Airport since January 2021, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, we certainly can, Senator. Maybe just for context, our charges are levied based on the tonnes landed of the aircraft and per flight. So it's the numbers of flights and the weight of the aircraft that are landed that generate those kinds of levies. The type of operation that's being used coming into an airport don't affect the revenue associated with landings at those airports. So the fact that the aircraft's come in and landed is the basis of the charge rather than the type of operation.
Okay, yep, thank you, that's clear. And lastly, can you please provide me or the committee with a copy of the federal government's 50-year lease agreement with Brisbane Airport Corporation Group?
Senator, we can't provide that. You'd have to seek that either from the department or Brisbane Airport. We don't have any access to that.
Oh, I see, because they've been stonewalling the community for years on that request. Do you have a copy of it?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Minister? Sorry.
Minister, I'm after a copy of the federal government's 50-year lease agreement with the Brisbane Airport Corporation Group.
Oh,
And I was hoping to
yeah,
get a
I'd
copy
have
of
to take
that.
that on notice.
Thank you.
I certainly don't have it to hand.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Senator Waters.